Hey everybody, look who I've got with me tonight.
I'm here already. Uh,
Tell them what we're doing, sweetie, where we
we're
are.
in the hills of the hill country, and we are coming to you live from Hunt, Texas.
Hunt,
Yep,
Texas.
yep. So
Yeah, and look, y'all, we do want y'all to be praying for us. Continue to pray for us. We know you pray for us. We appreciate your prayers. We appreciate your love. We appreciate your support. But not being at home, you can see our multi-million-dollar mobile studio that we're in. It's just that we have to do it together when we travel. So
that's not
it
really a reason
makes
to pray
it
for us. What are you asking them to pray for?
because my wife is so nervous.
I feel like we did have, excuse me, a little bit of trouble getting this together because traveling and just being out of our element and everything. We're going to do the best we can.
And as always, her computer turns left when it's supposed to turn right, and turns right when it's supposed to turn left. And so we do pray for peace, grace, and as always, God's love and mercy. And we also just want to say we do our best to try to be in the will of the Spirit. Now, let me say this to you. For those of you, if you haven't liked our podcast, liked Invisible Things, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. We're not asking to be monetized. It's just that a lot of times during the week, we post things on our Invisible Things Facebook page, and it's to help you guys and encourage you to study and dig deeper and dig broader and check out things. And we post them in hopes that it will help you guys, edify you, and help you in your daily Bible study, not just what we're teaching you. So please like and subscribe and share. And we do appreciate all of you that join us on Sunday evenings. And, it's amazing. Sonora and I are always amazed. We get through on Sunday night and we have, a fairly steady number. And then before the next Friday, it kind of shocks us at how many people have viewed the videos since the Sunday night before. So we're very appreciative, and so hope y'all
appreciate them watching, and we hope they're getting something out of it.
Yeah, we do. We hope it's being beneficial to you, and that y'all are getting something out of it. And if only one person is helped by what we're doing, that's what we want. We feel like we're doing what the Lord asked us to do. So. Sweetie, kick us off.
Yeah, we're two realms revealed is what we're talking about tonight, and pretty much talking about the transfiguration as people would remember that story in the Bible. This is Matthew chapter 17.
And last week we kind of teased y'all about it.
Well, last week, remember Jesus took his disciples to Caesarea Philippi.
Ooh.
And which is
highly charged. Pause right there. How many comments did we receive about we had no idea about Caesarea Philippi? I mean, we were just bombarded by comments like that. So many people did not realize just the significance of what Jesus had actually done with his disciples and where Jesus had that interaction about his identity with Peter. Right there in front of those temples. So go ahead, sweetie.
Yeah. What I was going to say was just a highly charged pagan site. Is the only way to describe that. Idol worship, depraved rituals and celebrations, and
the depravity.
Yeah.
What's funny is y'all know Sonora's an artist, and years ago, one of the subjects she had was trying to paint the harness of a mule. And so, just out of the blue, a photograph popped up, and I forwarded it to Sonar, and she asked me what it was all about, and I said, just look at it. One of the things that mule was dressed with were blinders. Now, if y'all have any age on you at all, you know what a mule's bridle with blinders on does for the mule, and makes it easier for the farmer to plow or pull a wagon or whatever. And just imagine, the disciples didn't have blinders on. I mean, they were being bombarded with just some of the most hardcore depravity to the left and to the right when they were going up to those areas where Jesus was going to stop them and, make this unbelievable, let's call it a show of force, if you will. But they didn't have blinders on. They were just, and again, one of the things we made everybody aware of is Jews were not within miles of that place. That's how.
Wait.
Go ahead.
Good Jews.
Okay, good.
Good Jews.
That's a good way to put it. Okay, good Jews were not within miles of that place.
Yeah, you wouldn't be caught dead there if you were, in any way good Jew. But he decided to take his disciples to that very point in front of all those different idols and all that, pagan worship going
Debauchery,
on, and
yeah.
say, who do people say I am? And they said, some say John the Baptist, some say Elijah. Then he asks them personally and says, who do you say that I am? And that's where Peter declares him the Messiah, the Son of the living God. And Jesus declares right there, on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it. We talked about which rock, and the two words that he used there. The word for Peter, and I think it means stone, but it's more like a pebble, a movable or a smaller rock. But the rock that the word that Jesus uses there in that scripture is a large rock mass, which would be like a bedrock, a cliff, an immovable foundation. And, thank goodness, I just want to say that the church wasn't built on a human being at all, because that would be a disaster. I don't know a human being that could be the foundation of Christianity. So, what Jesus was talking about there, we did talk about that a little bit. If you missed that podcast, maybe go back and look at that. I want to mention something here, Keith, that you and I have talked about before, and that is how the Bible is divided to make things easier to find by chapter and verse and what have you. Chapter divisions, this was a come later thing.
Mm-hmm.
This was not something that was originally done. As a matter of fact, I don't think the words even had spaces between them in the Old Testament. So Stephen Langton was the one that the Archbishop of Canterbury is credited with creating the chapter system around 1205. And he applied that. It was widely spread, but you got to remember also that back then Bibles weren't read by lay people anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm saying that to say this, that chapters are not always perfect breaks. Sometimes they split stories. They make it look like this is a different event, but sometimes I just wish they just flowed on in, to the next thing. And this is a very, very good example of that.
This sure is.
Yeah. And then this was who was credited, if you want to look it up, with the verse numbers. And some say that it was while he was riding on horseback, though that may be legend. But that became the standard for the verses as we have it now. Starting at the end of Matthew 16, we kind of did a teaser. It says, truly I tell you, some who are standing here will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. And so I think you and I both looked at this when we were younger and said, Well, obviously, we know how the disciples died. So, what is he talking about? So, I think if you don't make a break here and you go straight into this next verse, it makes a whole lot more sense, because that's where we get the transfiguration.
If you read the Matthew chapter 16 and 17, as if there were no break between the last verse of 16 and the first verse of 17.
Yeah, let's do that.
It makes perfect sense.
So it says, "Truly I tell you, some who are standing here will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. There he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. Just then there appeared before them Moses and Elijah talking with Jesus. We don't have to wonder. Now, Chuck Missler says, how did they know? Did they have name tags on? And I don't know how they knew, but there was no doubt it was Moses and Elijah.
Well,
and so we don't have to wonder about that part.
Well, according to the passage, Peter actually is talking to Jesus and ask him a question, and he calls them Elijah and Moses, and Jesus doesn't rebuke him or correct him.
Okay.
So you have to just assume that it was correct.
It is Moses and it is Elijah, and we're not going to say that's disputed in any way. What is somewhat disputed is, where did this take place? Because remember, we were just talking about Caesarea Philippi, and they're right there, but there are 6 days in here. Was this Mount Hermon or was this Mount Tabor?
Well, Mount Tabor is the traditional site,
right? And I've got a little map here. Do you like my map?
I like your map.
Yeah, and up here you see Mount Hermon, and then down there Mount Tabor. And I did zoom in just a little bit here. I know this is small, but so that you could see where they are. And I did some research on this.
Okay.
I did some research on this because I wanted to know, we know about the transfiguration, and we want to talk some more about that in a minute, but could they have walked to Mount Tabor? So looking up Mount Tabor, traditional site, it says since at least the 4th century church tradition.
Nobody considered Mount Tabor as the site of the transfiguration until about the 4th century AD.
But since then, that's a long time. It was considered, and a monastery was even built there in the early century.
2 churches are built there, yes.
But geography-wise, Tabor rises about 1,900 feet above the Jezreel Valley, making it a prominent solitary mountain. But 1,900 feet in comparison to some of these, that doesn't really seem like a mountain to me. It seems more like a big hill.
And here's the thing: Mount Tabor is a singular mountain. Okay, it's not like it's connected to anything else. But there are, and again, in the geographical sense, Mount Tabor is not even considered a mountain; it's considered a hill.
Yeah.
Okay, and when you look at Mount Tabor compared to the other hills, it's not even a prominent hill.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've seen the topography. And in Jesus's time, another challenge here would be that it had a fortified city on its summit.
Well,
and so that's not exactly a quiet private retreat for prayer and the appearance of Moses and Elijah.
No, and let me tell you this: the top of Mount Tabor, if y'all know, Mount Tabor is located in an area where there's always been a lot of people and a lot of trade. If I'm not mistaken, it's either 2 or 3 major ancient roads intersect either at Mount Tabor or
so I mean,
very near
the Mount of Mount Tabor is kind of a hotbed of activity.
Well,
however,
well, let me finish this though. This is how the military city got on top. It was actually occupied by Jewish military, Hebrew militia men until they were defeated about 60 BC.
Okay.
Okay. And the Romans, when they were firming up their power and control over all of the Holy Land, the Romans decided to occupy where the Hebrews had that military outpost for themselves. Well, the Romans said, look, we're never going to let them get the high ground on us again. This is too important of a strategic location. So that's why there was a Roman city at the top of Mount Tabor. So
But
that's
but
why
for
it
the
says,
purpose of this, of my argument here, or my debate, is I just don't know that Mount Tabor fits the story. But if you look at Mount Hermon, okay, he's already in that area, which is at the base of it. It's no small hill to climb, by the way. So I didn't put all this in here, but it would take them kind of hoofing it a couple of days to get up this thing.
mhm.
So
If y'all remember, we've covered Mount Hermon
Mhm.
twice now.
and it
It's a
seems to
three
be
peak mountain. It's 30 miles long, and the highest of the three mountain peaks is 9,000. Snar's got it there, 9,200 feet. It's covered in snow about 10 months out of the year.
but it fits Matthew. It doesn't even say that he took them to the tippy top.
No,
It says he took them up on a high mountain.
yeah, and
Well, it's a high mountain.
right.
How is the Mount Tabor a high mountain?
Well, that's just it. And that's why many modern scholars
Mm.
do not consider Mount Tabor to be the site of the
But
Transfiguration.
you can say, it was in Gentile territory, not a typical place for Jewish religious events. But Jesus took them there on purpose. I mean, and you and I both know this seems to be kind of a hotbed of spiritual activity.
Mm-hmm.
This high place, these high places.
Yeah, we've
And
talked about
so,
that.
Yeah, I think it's a good candidate. Let's
It-
just say that
it is a good
it's a very
candidate.
good candidate. But the implications here are it takes place right after the Transfiguration.
Yeah.
And
And
several days walk south to Tabor would be required if tradition is correct. It's more geographically a natural fit, but because Matthew says only after 6 days, only Matthew says it, but it's after 6 days.
another one says 8 days.
Yeah, there's but that could have been the 2 days it took to get to the top of it. That could have been. That makes a whole lot of sense. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ooh,
And
that
just
might
for
really
everybody's
be it.
benefit, the Transfiguration account is in both Matthew, Mark,
and John,
and
Luke.
Luke,
Mhm.
and Peter recalls the Transfiguration in 2 Peter
Mhm.
chapter 1. So
It-
all four of those references are what you need to look at.
So in verse 4, Peter says to Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, I will put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. Now, the word that Peter uses here, I don't know how in the world it's like skene,
Mm-hmm.
skinny, which means tent, booth, or tabernacle. But it is the same root used in the Old Testament or in the Septuagint for the tabernacle where God's presence dwelled among Israel in the wilderness.
It was the Greek word used in the Septuagint when the Septuagint, depending on how you say it,
Mhm.
was translating Hebrew into Greek.
But you've got to remember the temple, the Feast of Tabernacles, these things went on, where there were temporary shelters being put up. We don't know exactly what he's talking about here. I don't think they're trying to talk about building a permanent structure, but they're thinking they're going to stay a while. I mean, you're wondering, we're going to get into that. Just let's go forward just a little bit more.
Go ahead.
While he was still speaking, a bright cloud covered them, and a voice from the cloud said, "This is my son, whom I love. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him." Now, I want you to put this picture in your mind that the 3 that came with Jesus are so excited to be there. They are feeling the moment Elijah and Moses have come down. This thing's about to get kicked off. Let's put some tents up.
Jesus is being shown in his glory.
Okay,
It's
let me
not-
finish my thought though. The three are standing there all excited. They're ready to make a permanent structure or some kind of structure to even house them because they think this is part of the whole thing about to be kicked off. What happens? I want to fast forward real quick to something and just show you just the connection here of what actually happens. I'm sorry. When the disciple and then the cloud shows up with God in it and he speaks, and they have gone from ready to put up a tent to when the disciples heard this, they fell face down to the ground, terrified. They were no longer ready to put up a tent. They realized the real gravity of the situation, I think. But Jesus came and touched them. Get up, he said. Don't be afraid. And when they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus. That's kind of interesting, isn't it?
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
It's one of the most remarkable passages in Scripture, if you ask me.
Yeah, I hate to split that up that much. So, but I did want to talk about a few things is because I feel like what we're looking at here, Peter's offer kind of highlights a human tendency. When confronted with the divine breaking through, we want to contain it, preserve it, institutionalize it. He might even want to sell jars of the smoke. I mean, just, oh, this is good.
Sell some of the dirt that they were standing
Yeah,
on.
right. That goes on today. Institutionalize the experience, but the transfiguration wasn't meant to stay on the mountaintop. It was a preview of the kingdom, not a permanent dwelling yet.
Yeah. Now,
It's a coming soon. It's a glimpse into what's going on. Chuck Missler said it was a staff meeting.
mhm.
And we're going to look at a little bit
Yeah,
more
before
about that.
Before you leave that, though, let's talk about the disciples. And y'all know Peter. So many times commentators say, Peter was always trying to, get his foot out of his mouth, but all he ever did was put the other foot in. So Peter was the one that spoke first. But you can just imagine all three of these young men were raised up in the synagogue.
Yeah.
They heard, where did the glory of God dwell? And we've studied this, y'all. Y'all remember this when they were in the wilderness, and God would lead them a pillar of fire by night and a pillar of cloud by day. And when the cloud stopped, that's where they were to camp, and that's where the tabernacle was supposed to be taken out of its packing. And the tabernacle was supposed to be built right where that pillar of cloud rested. And when they got the tabernacle finished, the cloud entered the tabernacle. And so here they are looking at this unbelievable vision.
Heaven has come to dwell.
There you go.
Heaven has
That's what
come
I'm
to
saying.
dwell. That's what they were doing. But when he said, "This is my son," God made clear that the real focus was not the booths or even Moses or Elijah, but Jesus alone. And was God?
Yeah, he didn't say
Speaking to the
I'm proud of
disciples?
Elijah. He didn't say I'm proud of Moses.
But who was Keith? My question is, was God speaking to the disciples or to Moses and Elijah? Was he telling them to listen to his son, or was he the disciples face down? Face down.
That is a good question, y'all.
I think he was declaring kingship. I think he was just declaring it out, the kingship of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And what did they talk about? He's standing up there talking to them. What were they talking about?
Yes.
If it's a staff meeting, what
Like
was
you
going
said,
on?
staff meeting. Jesus
Yeah.
was having a staff meeting, and the disciples were allowed to sit in the gallery.
Yeah. Well, are these the two witnesses? This might give us a clue if they are. Are these the two witnesses spoken about in Revelation 11? Because the two witnesses in Revelation 11 is, "And I will appoint my two witnesses," and y'all know this is in the future. This is coming. We're talking about the tribulation, and this would be the first 3.5 years.
First three and
First 3.5 years. "And I will appoint my two witnesses, and they will prophesy for 1,260 days," which is the same as
3.5
3 and a
years.
half years, clothed in sackcloth. They are the 2 olive trees and the 2 lampstands, and they stand before the Lord of the earth. If anyone tries to harm them, fire comes from their mouths and devours their enemies. Chuck Missler said he would love to see them preach. I
Oh.
hope we all get to, but not as inhabitants here. I want
Yeah,
to
I'd
watch
like to
from a
be-
distance.
I'd like to be looking down on
Mhm.
their preaching.
This is how anyone who wants to harm them must die. They have the power to shut up the heavens so it will not rain during the time they are prophesying, and they have power to turn the waters into blood and to strike the earth with every kind of plague as often as they want. This is 2 awesome individuals. But the powers that are given into the 2 witnesses here, let's just encapsulate it. They're going to prophesy for 3.5 years in sackcloth. That's supernatural right there, that could happen. No harm will come to them. Fire from their mouths, devouring their enemies. Shut up the heavens, no rain for 3.5 years. Turn water into blood. Strike the earth with every kind of plague as often as they want. Well, do these powers given to these 2 witnesses sound familiar to you?
Of course they do.
They do. Shut up heaven and withhold. I think I have a better slide here. Let's go. What about, we're looking at Elijah, because what did he do? Shut up heaven and withhold the rain for 3.5 years. And here are the scripture references for you in 1 Kings. Also, that particular thing is referenced in Luke 4:25 by Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's affirmed in James 5:17. And then remember, we studied this too, the call down the fire from the heavens.
Yep.
Mount Carmel with the prophets of Baal, where
Baal and Ashtoreth.
that was awesome. That could have been nothing but supernatural. And then also he called down fire on King Ahaz's soldiers, and he did it 2 times.
Mm-hmm.
He did it 2 different times. And then Moses, let's look at Moses, Elijah and Moses. Here we are. They were in the transfiguration. Are they, if not them, at least the spirit of them are the witnesses, because turning water into blood, remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Moses did that in Egypt. Striking the land with plagues, all that. He did all that. He was the prophet, lawgiver. He represents the Torah, God's covenant, just like Elijah represents the prophets. And then he was also, the mountaintop glory for both of them. Moses and Elijah appeared at the transfiguration.
Well, and you remember one time Moses came down from the top of Mount Sinai after fellowshipping with God,
Mm-hmm.
and he shone.
Yeah.
Moses himself shone with the glory of God, and it made the people fearful.
Yeah.
Made them afraid of Moses.
This was something that kind of struck me as I was going back through this. I don't know if you've seen this slide, but in any case, we can see the connection between the oil lamps and the olive trees. The light stands ready before the Lord. The light stand ready before the Lord, but they do not burn without a steady supply of oil. These, you see the oil, the lampstands and the oil.
Mm-hmm.
The witnesses give light into a dark world when fueled by the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
Isn't that
yes.
something?
Yes. That's so awesome.
Revelation continued. I did want to just kind of finish this out before we leave this, but after the 3.5 days, the breath of life from God entered them. This is they're actually going to be struck and killed, and they will stand up. They'll be resurrected. And then they heard a loud voice from heaven saying to them, "Come up here." And they went up to heaven in a cloud while their enemies looked on.
Did you skip one?
I may have one out of order.
Okay.
If we did, I messed
Because
up.
they're I'm gonna put air quotes. They're killed. But that's what that.
Yeah,
that
here we
slide-
go. This slide's supposed to be there. But after 3.5 years time period has passed, the beast is going to attack and overpower and kill them. And I mean, all this is prophesied. So that doesn't, the fact that they get killed those that don't know prophecy won't realize this is all part of God's plan.
Mhm.
But their bodies will lie in the public square of the great city where Jesus was crucified.
Everybody knows that's Jerusalem.
And 3.5 days. So we know exactly where this is going to happen. 3.5 days, some from all nations will look at them and refuse to bury them. They'll refuse to bury them. It'll be mocking, gloating, and celebrating of their death.
Oh my gosh,
Yep.
It sounds so current.
Yep, it does. Oh my goodness. And then they're going to go up to heaven in a cloud. Now remember, Elijah went up to heaven in a cloud. Moses, God buried.
Mm-hmm.
So their bodies, is there a reason? Is that a connection? Is there something about that they're being saved for a future time?
Use.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then they were there at the transfiguration as well. Some people want to say Enoch because Enoch was also taken up, but I don't see as much evidence for that.
I don't know.
Now let's go back to Matthew 17 where we were studying. And when the disciples heard this, they fell face down to the ground. We read this earlier, but Jesus came in and said, "Get up." He said, "Don't be afraid." When they looked up, they saw no one but Jesus. And as they were coming down the mountain, Jesus instructed them, "Don't tell anyone what you have seen until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead." And then the disciples asked him, "Why then do the teachers of the law say that Elijah must come first?" And Jesus replied, "To be sure, Elijah comes and will restore all things. But I tell you," and that makes me also think, Elijah the witness. He says, "But I tell you, Elijah has already come, and they did not recognize him, but have done to him everything they wished. In the same way, the Son of Man is going to suffer at their hands." And then the disciples understood that he was talking to them about John the Baptist. And, he keeps telling them the Son of Man is going to suffer at their hands. And then this is one of those things where it just kind of jumps into the next thing. And you're thinking,
it's like it's so not connected.
It is, and it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. When they came to the crowd, and maybe this is because they were just coming down the mountain, hadn't even got off the mountain yet. A man approached Jesus and knelt before him. "Lord, have mercy on my son." He said, "He has seizures and is suffering greatly, and he often falls into the fire or in the water. And I brought him to your disciples, but they couldn't heal him." And Jesus says, "You unbelieving and perverse generation," Jesus replied, "How long shall I stay with you? How long shall I put up with you? Bring the boy here to me." And Jesus rebuked the demon, and it came out of the boy, and he was healed at that moment. And then the disciples came to Jesus in private and asked, "Why couldn't we drive it out?" And he replied, "Because you have so little faith. Truly, I tell you, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you could say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you." Now,
it's such a picture that
it is.
We can hear it, but
I want to make sure though that we add in Mark 9:29 because this account is in Mark as well, and the account includes the following. He replied, "This kind can come out only by prayer," and some manuscripts say prayer and fasting. And Mark definitely has the most detailed version. It includes the Father's cry that says, "I believe, help my unbelief." Isn't that amazing though? I believe, help my unbelief. If I don't have enough faith, give me faith.
I believe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But if I don't have enough, please help my unbelief.
Yeah. It's just, I think this really points to preparation and where the power comes from. I think that knowing that the power to cast out a demon or the power to heal anything is flowing straight out of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And prayer and preparation and the Holy Spirit and
well, you remember we covered demon possession several podcasts back, and we covered the fact that the Bible makes it clear that there were certain Pharisees who had the ability to cast out demons, and they had their own Jewish program for how to do it.
They did.
They had to blow the shofar. They had to challenge the demon directly. They had to get the demon to speak his name and tell him who he was, he or they was.
There definitely seemed to be like a protocol for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is they only had partial success. Jesus batted 1,000 every time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that is the power flows from
Right.
him through
Well,
anyone who does anything like that. It's not from the
here's
person.
here's where I want to go based on what I was just saying. Remember, Jesus had sent out the 70,
Mhm.
and they the 12. which-
2 by 2. He sent out the 12
Yeah.
2 by 2 first.
Okay, yeah, he sent out the 12 first. That's right.
Mhm.
And they came back and they were talking among themselves, and it sounded like they were just about surprised. Y'all, can you believe I did it just like Jesus told me to do it? And the demons would leave, and we could deliver these people, and we could heal people, and it was like they have a formula, and it's like excuse me. At this point in time, had they gotten so comfortable about it that they were relying on formula instead of understanding that it's faith?
I don't know.
does
I
it?
think it's interesting though that you only hear this once. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't really even act like why sometimes can we do it, why sometimes can we not. It just seems like this was a particularly special case
Instance, yeah.
that Jesus had knowledge about, and he was rebuking them somewhat about it, though.
Well, and that's why I say,
I'm not sure.
yeah.
I'm not sure about that. I think it's interesting.
Well, you and I weren't there, so
No, we weren't.
we're
We're old.
speculating.
We're not that old.
We're just trying to interpret what we see.
Jesus, again, in this next one, you'll notice there's not a 21 here. Did you notice that? It goes from 20 to 22. And then in Bibles, in the NIV, it'll have a little 21 and then a little blurb, but it's kind of because they left room for the part in Mark there. They make reference to Mark saying prayer and fasting. But there is no verse 21 in this particular chapter.
And it depends on the translation.
Yeah, I think so.
If you remember when we talked about the King James, it's like, and there were 3 main manuscripts that the early translation groups tried to use. And the King James scholars, if it was in any one of the 3, they were going to put it in.
Yeah.
And later groups, they tried to pick and choose. Well, it was in 1, but it wasn't in 2, so we're not going to put it in our version.
Okay.
And so that's why
that's no big deal.
No, but we've talked about the fact why you can see some stuff in the New King James or the ESV or the NIV or Legacy Standard Bible, LS.
Anyway, this is the next section. Jesus predicts his death a second time. It says, when they came together in Galilee, he said to them, the Son of Man is going to be delivered into the hands of men. They will kill him, and on the 3rd day he will be raised to life. And the disciples were filled with grief. Okay, it's like he could tell them, and for the moment it would upset them, and then they would rationalize that away or something to make it more palatable and go on with what their preconceived ideas are, because you see that over and over
It's
again.
human nature. We do it too. We
Mm-hmm.
use that as a defense mechanism. If it's something I don't want to deal with, it's out of mind, out of sight, out of mind.
You cubbyhole things.
Mm-hmm.
This is about, then the next little section is about the temple tax. And this is extremely interesting to me. And I never studied this that much before, but after Jesus and his disciples arrived in Capernaum, and that's where Peter lived. They're at Peter's hometown.
Mm-hmm.
The collectors of the 2 drachma temple tax came to Peter and asked, "Doesn't your teacher pay the temple tax?" "Yes, he does," he replied.
He lied.
When Peter came into the house, Jesus was the first to speak. He hadn't even asked Jesus if he's got any temple tax yet. He's already on it. He already knows what's going on, doesn't he? And he says, "What do you think, Simon? From whom do the kings of the earth collect duty and taxes? From their own children or from others?" Peter's sitting there thinking, "I just told them he paid the temple tax." He says, "From others?" Peter answered. "Then the children are exempt," Jesus said to him. "But so that we may not cause offense, go to the lake and throw out your line. Take the first fish you catch, open its mouth, and you will find a 4 drachma coin. Take it and give it to them for my tax and yours." I think this is interesting. This is what that coin looked like, Keith.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that interesting? Temple tax. The custom of the temple tax and how Jesus used it to illustrate a spiritual truth. Everybody else may have picked up on this, but I'm slow, so I have to break it down. But the context in Matthew's gospel, this happens right after the transfiguration, and Jesus and his disciples have come back down to Galilee, specifically to Peter's hometown.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tax collectors, these are not Roman officials, but those who collected the temple tax.
These would be Pharisees and agents for the Sanhedrin and agents for the Sanhedrin.
They approach Peter and ask if Jesus pays it. The temple tax refers back to Exodus 30:13-16, where every Israelite aged 20 and up was required to pay half a shekel annually for the upkeep of the tabernacle and later the temple. In the first century, this was still practiced. Jewish males would pay the 2 drachma coin, about 2 days' wage each year for the two days' wages. That's a lot. But anyway, each year for the support of the Jerusalem temple. It's not a Roman tax, but a religious duty. Now, when Peter comes in the house, I've already mentioned this, Jesus preempts his question and asks him, from whom do the kings of the earth take toll or tribute? From their sons or from others? Peter answers, from others. But Jesus's point here is, if earthly kings don't tax their own children, then by analogy, he, as God's son, is
Shouldn't be
exempt
taxed either.
from the temple tax. The temple is his father's house. Why should the son pay? I never really realized that's what he was talking about there.
It's one of those times where how many times have you read that passage and you never understood the background behind it?
Why should the son pay the father's tax? He shouldn't. But he teaches a lesson in humility here, and he says, so we won't cause offense, go to the lake, cast a hook, and first fish you catch is going to have the coin in its mouth. And I looked it up. There is a coin that is that exact amount. It wasn't like he had to find 2. There was 1 coin for both. And so what do we know? I'm not trying to get too deep with this or anything, but, there's no denying that Jesus declares his divine sonship right here. He says he is greater than the temple. His father is the temple. Why should the son pay to the father?
The father is the high king, and being his son.
In some ways, it's like he's paying himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but he does show humility here and teaches that to Peter. He provides a miracle for the whole thing. And I don't think I'm stretching it too far to say that this is almost perhaps a foreshadowing of Jesus's payment of sin for others. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that something? Now,
he provides, miraculously provides for the payment of the tax.
Yep, I think so. What you got on Creation Corner? You got something?
Well,
you got some other things you want to talk about first? Maybe here?
Well,
what's this?
This is, I showed this before. We've told y'all Mount Hermon is a 30-mile long mountain. It has 3 peaks. It runs from the southwest to the northeast. And the southern southernmost portion of that mountain is actually now within the Israelite territory. And it has snow on it, like I said, 10 to 11 months out of the year, and in some cases year round. It actually has a ski resort on it, on the Israeli portion, and that is Mount Hermon. Now, and another thing is when you study the Greek, when Matthew uses high mountain, Mark uses high mountain. The word for mountain is general.
Yeah.
The way he uses, the way
Yeah.
Matthew and Mark use it. Okay. But the key word
But
is
why
high, because it clearly indicates a very prominent, a prominence, like higher than all the rest. And
even that though, I think that the activity on Mount Tabor is not exactly a place where you would want to have Elijah and Moses come down and be witnessed
and
by
especially
everybody
especially if Jesus didn't want it widely known at the time.
He said, "Don't tell anybody."
Right. Now hit the next slide.
Okay.
And folks, that is Mount Tabor.
Well, it is.
And you're looking at Mount Tabor from another high hill, and you can see they're about the same height.
Well, it doesn't look totally occupied up there. Is there
Well,
not?
sweetie, look how far away you are. You can't see an ancient ruin up there now. All that's up there now are the two churches and a monastery.
I guess so. I think I made a good case for Mount Hermon.
Well, I think you did too.
Yeah.
Now, let me say this. We've already proven, months and months ago, on the controversy of where Mount Sinai is.
Sure.
And the conventional location is actually in the Sinai Peninsula, but we covered that, and the supposed site of Mount Sinai in the Sinai Peninsula, there's no evidence of anything to do with Jewish occupation or presence in that area until like 500 AD.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And number two, when you look at all, and again, it's a case of you can't try to fashion a truth about something in the Bible until you eliminate all conflicts. And when you talk about the fact that Moses was shepherding his father-in-law's flocks when he saw the burning bush over here on this high place off to the side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, he was in Midian. His father-in-law was from Midian. He escaped from Egypt. He was an outlaw, and he escaped to Midian. Well, Midian is in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. I think that you're making a good point.
So
but there's even another mountain that some people
have come up with a third mountain, but so few people give it any credibility. It's not worth mentioning. So, are you going to run our intro?
Oh, you want your intro? Yes, I will do that right now. Hang on just a second.
Can't believe you forgot.
I got it right here.
Okay. The last two podcasts, we have run out of time. We didn't have time for the creation corner, but we did figure that tonight we would have time. So we're going to be back in it. We're going to share some things with you. So we want to show you a couple of videos. And the first one is about what's called the Cambrian explosion. And I don't know how many of you ever heard that phrase, but the Cambrian explosion and we'll let the videos speak for themselves. But it is something that evolutionists absolutely, I mean, they sound like babbling idiots when they're trying to explain it.
Well, let's watch it.
Okay.
If evolution were true, the fossil record should show one type of animal life in the lowest layers, then 2, then 4, and so on. But Darwin himself had a difficult time explaining what we now call the Cambrian explosion of life. Cambrian rock layers contain nearly all the basic animal forms, including echinoderms, arthropods, and even chordates, with no trace of transitional fossils in lower Precambrian rocks. And each fossil exhibits amazing complexity. For example, Cambrian arthropods had advanced compound eyes, like we see today in dragonflies and bees. The eyes were tuned to the way light travels through water, allowing the creature to see straight. This required each eye to have over 3,000 interconnected lenses. Compare that to only one lens in each human eye. Cambrian rocks also contain fossil fish that look like today's lanceolids and hagfish. The fish had perfectly crafted skeletal supports inside their bodies, an opposite arrangement from Cambrian arthropods like trilobites. The Cambrian layers show an amazing amount of diversity and complexity. Evolutionists claim it happened in a mere 5 to 10 million years, the equivalent to a blink of an eye in so-called geologic time. Sudden appearance? Instant complexity? That doesn't sound much like evolution. Instead, the fossil record shows fully formed creature groups right from the start.
Unbelievable. All right, one more.
All right, let's see. Let me see what I can do here for you. This one.
Fossils are undeniably fascinating. These ancient artifacts allow us to dig, both figuratively and literally, into Earth's history.
Which parts am I supposed to be doing with this one?
Paleontologists seek after these mysterious
We don't want to make you watch the whole thing. Let's see if we can fix it.
Go to 605.
Okay, here we go. Okay, let's go right here.
There you go.
We'll do that. We'll go there.
Thanks. Can you delete that? We don't have the transitional forms. Instead, what we have are fossils of fully functional creatures, many that look the same as those living today. So, we have the sudden appearance of complex life and a lack of transitional fossils. The Cambrian explosion has hammered 2 major nails into the coffin of the evolutionary theory. Do we need a third one? A living fossil is a creature alive today that looks about the same as fossilized remains found in the fossil records. And the Cambrian layers are rife with them. Horseshoe crabs, brittle stars, they all make an appearance. And despite the supposed 540 million years of evolution that took place between the Cambrian layer and today, these creatures remain virtually unchanged. Evolutionists call lack of change in living fossils stasis, but giving it an official name doesn't make it any less problematic. Then these fossils disappear in the layers above the Cambrian, which is even more difficult to explain. I mean, they're still here, so they didn't go extinct. But why would these creatures abruptly appear hundreds of millions of years ago, disappear for millions more, and reappear as if nothing had ever happened? It's like that one member of your group project that shows up at the start, disappears for all the hard work, and then shows up at the presentation to make sure they get credit. Of course, evolutionary scientists try to force the Cambrian explosion into their framework, even going so far as to rename the phenomenon so it doesn't seem so explosive. But new discoveries like Cambrian soft tissue fossils only make the issue even more complicated. Evolution just cannot provide a satisfactory explanation for the Cambrian explosion. What's the alternative then? Geologist Dr. Tim Clary at the Institute for Creation Research has extensively studied the geologic layers and has provided ample evidence that they were laid down during Noah's flood.
Well, one of the big mysteries in evolution today is the Cambrian explosion. And today, the more they found almost every major animal phyla shows up suddenly in this one layer. Below that, there's virtually nothing. And so evolutionary scientists have been struggling to explain that. they're trying to actually make it into millions of years, several millions of years, but several millions of years is still not enough time for all that stuff to evolve. The way creation scientists or flood geologists like myself would explain the Cambrian explosion is completely differently. We think that's the first major sedimentary rock unit deposited by the flood. I believe the flood explanation
Why does that not
is
make
vastly
sense?
superior because it explains why there's no life below that hardly. What we're seeing in the research that we're doing here at ICR is we're seeing a progressive flood. So it starts out with this Cambrian explosion, or the bottommost layer of the Sauk megasequence.
Look.
The flood progresses more and
All
more as we
around the
map
world.
out the continents. We see the sediments actually show an increase in coverage or aerial extent. And Genesis 7 describes that quite well. It wasn't just a 40-day flood. That was just the beginning of it. After that point, things got much worse, and the flood progressed even more and more until it went over the top of the highest hills on day 150. The evidence is still there for us to see, to show that God's word is true. We can see there really was a global flood.
While evolutionists will point to the layers and claim that they are evidence of vast stretches of time, they are more adequately explained by a global flood just a few thousand years ago. The floodwaters deposited these layers, the Cambrian included, over the course of the flood year described in Genesis. Creationists expect the presence of marine fossils in the Cambrian layer. Animal fossils appear in their order of burial. It makes sense that a worldwide catastrophic flood would bury such creatures so early in the process. It would also explain that although many of those marine creatures perished in the flood, some survived. What evolutionists would call living fossils, we would just call descendants. Despite their best efforts, evolutionists just cannot explain away the evidence the Cambrian explosion presents. Thanks for joining us for Creation Connection.
That's it.
Yeah, that was cool. I just want everybody to know if they want to go to our Invisible Things, I guess it's our YouTube page, that we have a playlist of Creation Corner of the full versions of all these and their original people that did them, that you could pull those up and watch those or share them with somebody else if they wanted to, because I made it public. So I think you've got
Well, wait, before we go any further, let's talk about these first two. I hope everybody's understanding what he's talking about. Nothing and then everything almost instantaneously. Now, evolution will say, well, it happened over 5 to 10 million years. How in the world does that make sense? When you're talking about, according to them, hundreds of millions, if not billions of years, it's like you said, you go from nothing to all of a sudden a whole panoply of creatures, evidence of creatures, and they're quite complex. Where are the 2-cell creatures? Where are the 3-cell creatures? Where are the 4 and 5-cell creatures? No, you have trilobites and other with 3,000 lenses in their eyeball and that make up their eyes, and the internal structures of their eyes are so complex that they outdo ours. And guess what the most remarkable thing of all now is? They have actually found soft tissue in these ancient animals that supposedly were well over 5 and 6 and 700 million years old. They found soft tissue.
soft tissue.
How is that even possible?
It's not possible.
It's not. It's not. And it's just like the geologist said. What they see by walking outdoors with a stick, with a rock hammer, whatever, what they see out on the ground much more readily fits the biblical narrative of the global flood. And he showed you one of those geological formations that parts of it is all over the world. And guess what? That's not the only formation that's found all over the world. Okay? Now, what he mentioned was what he called living fossils. That was the third nail in the coffin. Now, we're going to show you a video, and I've got some slides. I tell you what, let's do the slides before we start that video. Oh, we've got to do our Bible verses. Go ahead and read them, sweetie.
Okay. For the Lord is the great God, the great King above all gods. In his hand are the depths of the earth, and the mountain peaks belong to him. The sea is his, for he made it, and his hands formed the dry land. Let the heavens rejoice, let the earth be glad, let the sea resound and all that is in it. Let all the fields be jubilant and everything in them. Let all the trees of the forest sing for joy.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. The very first one we're going to study or look at is the coelacanth. This is a fossil that when I was a kid, it was nowhere in the biology books. Nowhere. Okay. That's because it was thought to be extinct. The last fossil of this fish was hundreds and hundreds of millions of years old, according to
Put
the
some air
evolution.
quotes up
Yeah,
there.
put some air quotes on that. Okay. Next slide.
Okay, you got another one. Ooh, look at that.
Look, it's a very unique fish.
Sure.
It's unmistakable.
That
Now,
is different.
now go back one.
Mhm.
Okay, now go forward one.
Okay.
Is there any doubt in your mind we're talking about the same thing? Now
No.
hit the third one.
Oh, boy, they had diving equipment millions and billions of
Millions
years
and
ago,
years, yeah,
and
hundreds
a
of-
camera to take a picture
Hundreds
of it.
and millions of years ago, yeah, and that's a fossilized scuba diver.
Wow.
That's with that fish.
Wow. You want
Okay.
to watch the video now?
No. Let's
Okay.
let's do the next two.
Okay.
All right. Horseshoe crab,
Oh. Okay.
hundreds of millions of years old, right there, according to the evolution. There's another one.
Mm-hmm.
It's unmistakable what you're looking at.
That is. There they are.
There they are. Today. Modern.
No wonder they call them
Exact
horseshoe.
same.
Yeah, they had a color camera back then.
Yeah.
There you
Isn't
go.
that amazing? The primitive primate apes had good cameras in them days. All right, here's another one.
Dragonfly. Obvious.
Look at that. Go
Look at
back.
Okay.
Look at that. Now go to the next one. Now go back. Now do the next one.
What are you doing here, Keith? You've done it.
I'm just saying, is there any question what you're looking at?
No.
Now go to the third one. Modern dragonfly.
Well, we know they're dragonflies. Yeah.
I know, but I'm showing you photograph.
Yeah.
It's the real deal.
Wow.
And so what's the question? How is something that has been, if evolution explains everything according to the evolutionists,
Mhm.
how do you still have dragonflies that show no change? How do you have horseshoe crabs, no change? Coelacanth, living today, no change. Now, let's watch the video.
Let's see if I can get it on here.
Once known only from fossils, the coelacanth was thought to have gone extinct around 65 million years ago in the late Cretaceous, during the great extinction that wiped out the dinosaurs. And yet, in
Great
We
1938,
need music.
one
This
was
is
found
I'm
off the coast
still
of South
standing.
Africa, alive. A fish almost entirely unchanged since the days of dinosaurs. This discovery represented one of the most significant natural history discoveries of recent times. Living at depths of around 200 meters down in the twilight zone of the ocean,
That's about
they are found
600
around the
feet.
steep rocky slopes of volcanic islands, venturing forth from their lava rock caves at night to feed. Being passive drift feeders, they move slow and feed on cephalopods as well as smaller fish. Believed
Look.
by many to have no living relatives, the coelacanth is a truly unique species.
No living relative.
They are the
Thank you.
only living vertebrates with a jointed skull that swings upward to greatly increase the gape of the mouth.
Look, pause that.
Their limb-like pectoral fins
that.
are also
What is he describing? He's describing complex design. Complex design.
Millions of billions of years ago, Keith? I thought it was the primal ooze.
Yeah. Okay.
So unique, as they are internally supported by bone, a feature not found in many other fish. They use them in a paddle-like fashion, as if they are walking through the water column. These unusual features have led to the coelacanth's evolutionary history becoming a matter of controversy, but most experts argue it is an early ancestor of modern-day bony fish, with lungfishes being its closest relative.
It's the whole thing.
With fins so closely resembling limbs, coelacanths demonstrate the evolutionary
That don't
pathway
resemble my
that saw
limbs.
animal
I
life
got
begin to
some
dominate
flappy
land.
stuff going
The
on, but
sight
that
of
ain't
these
my
2
limbs.
meter long, 200-pound living fossils
Just-
drifting in the deep is an ominous sight indeed. With only 2 known coelacanth populations in the world, both having been isolated for millions of years, their low numbers have led to a classification of critically endangered. And without careful management of human activities, this species could be lost forever, after having survived unchanged for millions of years.
Good.
Oh my goodness, they just had to throw that in there, didn't they?
They've got to. They don't
That
have a
just-
choice.
They just sound this is so stupid.
And here's what you have to watch. Whenever you're watching a secular natural history or documentary of any type, they will throw out evolution.
They're
as-
gonna fit it in there.
they're going to fit it in there.
Some kind of way.
Scientists believe, it is thought, and
They say it like it's fact, though. They've
that's
been
exa-
they've
it's
been hidden
taught
for
as
millions
fact.
of years.
yes.
Yeah. I
yes.
mean, they don't say there's any other explanation. Well, we did good.
We did.
7 minutes over. So
Okay. Well, y'all, we thank y'all. We love you. We're so glad you joined us. We hope we've given you some stuff to think about. We appreciate you being with us tonight.
we appreciate people being live, but we also appreciate people who can't watch it live that watch it later.
Yeah.
And we're glad to do it. So
And we want to tell y'all thank you, and we love you, and so appreciative of your prayers and your support and your loyalty and your love. And thank y'all. We love you. Good
Lord
night.
willing, we'll see y'all next week.
Yes.